Joining me right now is Justice Santosh Hegde, former Lokayukt of Karnataka and former Solicitor General of India. Appreciate you joining us, sir. How do you view the appointment in context with, because there was a huge controversy when Justice Gogoi went to the Rajya Sabha exactly 4 months, if I'm not wrong, after retiring, and this time around 6 weeks was practically the cooling off period, and that was that for Justice Nazir to be appointed as the Governor of Andhra Pradesh. How do you view it, sir?
I think there is a concerted effort on the part of the politicians in this country to denigrate the judiciary. This has started quite some time back, and I could only quote as a support to my understanding of the situation is a statement of the Honorable Law Minister, who said judges can't appoint judges and there should be a representative of the government in the collegium. Otherwise, the system will not work as contemplated under the Constitution. A situation which has now been in existence for decades together, and off and on there has been an attempt on the part of the legislature to have its nominee in the collegium, so that they can have a say in the matter and maybe in the days to come take over the selection of the judges to themselves and all. Similarly, a little sometime later, the Honorable Vice President of India suddenly started commenting on a case decided by the Supreme Court way back in 50 years back almost, in Keshwan Bharti's case. He commented and said the judgment is not correct, it requires to be rectified and all. This, according to me, shows an effort on the part of the politicians to take control of the judiciary. They have taken control of the executive. Today the administration is in the hand of elected representatives. Of course, the elected representatives know, everybody knows what they are doing also as a part of their constitutional obligations and the thing, you know. The only institution that was left, according to me, which was independent of the other two institutions, was judiciary. And I think the effort is now to have an all-out attack on the judiciary.
You know, there is no stipulated cooling off period per se to say, you know, there's nothing in the fine print there that should judges actually hold post-retirement appointments or not as well. But, you know, Justice Hegde, I'll ask you, as per you, do you feel that there should be a cooling off period somewhere down the line where you feel maybe, you know, that the judge is above suspicion? Because it's happened in the past multiple times as well. And to keep in factor on why it was opposed in the first place by B.R. Ambedkar, at that point of time, things were very different. Right now, in the current judicial context, the government is one of the largest litigants in courts today.
But what is this cooling off period? How much should be the cooling off period? Why should there be cooling off period? Meaning thereby, in anticipation of their retirement and a job of post-retirement, they're going to deliver judgments merely because you don't like the judgment, or the party in power or the government in power does not like the judgment when they are in the opposition. If supposing the opposition party today were in power and all, and if they appointed a judge from the Supreme Court, which they have done all these years, and all, two Supreme Court judges have been appointed as governors also, was there talk about cooling off period? Are there cooling off period to the politicians to become ministers? Are there cooling off period for a president person to become a president of India? Is there a cooling off period for a vice president to be occupying the office and all? What is this concept of cooling off period? Unheard of anywhere, cooling off period. Or if you really think that these judges are going to be partisan people, then you disqualify them. In the Constitution, you disqualify them that no judge of the Superior Court shall ever hold an office after his retirement.
But, you know, Justice Hegde, why I'm saying that is, if you look at past precedents, and nobody's saying it's this government or that government, but let's just go back in history, you know, from the 80s, there have been multiple instances which have made not just political parties, but a lot from your own fraternity question appointments. Why I say that? Of course, in the current context, you have a case of Justice Nazir and you had a case of Justice Gogoi going to the Rajya Sabha. But let's, you know, hark back maybe to 1991 in the case of Justice Ranganathan Mishra. 1991, he retired. In 1998, he was sent to the Rajya Sabha by the Congress government. In 1984, he was the same judge who acquitted all the top leadership of the Congress when it came down to the Sikh riots. On the other hand, if you look at Justice Islam, 1983 he retired, 1983 he was sent to the Rajya Sabha, and he was the same judge who somewhere down the line gave relief to the Congress Bihar Chief Minister in the Patna UC Bank scam. So in context of all of that, you know, when you look at a judge, when you look at the judiciary, you'd hope they're above suspicion. And instances like that, when collated together, does make anyone raise questions of quid pro quo.
Well, if that be so, shall I quote some of the judges? One of the greatest judges India has produced is Mr. M.C. Chagla. He was appointed on retirement as an ambassador to the United States. Later on, he became an education minister. Was there a cooling off period then? Was there a talk about cooling off period? When it suits, you bring in all sorts of restrictions. What is the difference between there being a cooling off period or no cooling off period? If a man is committed to a particular political philosophy or has delivered a judgment as a quid pro quo for his appointment thereafter, he will be forever in their favor. You have a cooling off period of 1 year. After the end of 1 year, he will be appointed as an ambassador or a governor or a vice president or a president. He will continue to have that thinking about, oh, this party has helped me, so I will help them. If that be the thought, then there should be no reappointment to the judges at all. Just think of another thing. During the political tenure of one political office, president is elected. He stays in that office even after the party goes out of power, new party comes. Then can you blame that president because you have been appointed by a previous government, a previous political party, so you should resign?
All right, you know, Justice Hegde, you're making a fair point, because if, say, somebody holds a political thought or somebody leans towards a political ideology or a political party, it's not that a break of 2 years is going to change that. And he can still be rehabilitated after that, you know, like we've seen in the past. I want to ask you your own point of view. Leave alone the cooling off period. Are you an advocate of judges holding government appointments post-retirement?
It is left to the government of the day to disqualify a judge from becoming holding a political office, elected office. It's for them to do it. Let them do it if they think it's the appropriate thing to do and all. But this concept of cooling off period does not in any manner serve the purpose of having independent people holding offices. If a person is committed to a particular post and he has been delivering judgments in favor of a political party, he will perpetually be there until he feels comfortable in that political thinking. The cooling off period will have no meaning at all.
Justice Hegde, appreciate you taking the time out and joining us this evening. Thank you so much for joining us.